Hey, I'm Dave Knight with the Dave Knight Real Estate Team, and we love being a real estate resource for people. Today's question comes from sellers when the property is in escrow and the buyer is not closing it on time. So here's the scenario: is you are the seller, I'm helping you sell your house. And the property is in escrow, it's supposed to close yesterday and it's still not closed. What do? And this happens more often now just because the lenders are getting a little bit tighter with conditions and there's more documentation needed. It can drag on a little bit longer past the closing, and you're upset because you've already moved to Texas and you still have this house, and who's paying the price of this delay? You, the seller, are, because it's not closed, which means you still have a mortgage. You're accruing that payment every day. It costs you $100, $200 a day, depending on what your debt amount is. So what do? Because by default, the way that the contract is written, if you don't change anything, is if there is a delay, then there's no penalty. And sometimes sellers get frustrated with that, and that's what I wanted to help answer this question is by default, that's the way that it plays out. So what do? In that case, we've got this buyer lined up, they're in escrow, and what can we do to force them to close? We can issue what's called a notice or a demand to close escrow or quit, which basically gives them a couple days they have to close the property. Well, what happens if they don't? What happens if we use force, which is not always the best thing to do, especially if it's not under their control. They want to close, but it's the lender that's not returning anybody's calls and everybody's frustrated with them. Why do we punish them, the buyer? That can be tricky, but if we force that and we threaten to basically make them lose their security deposit because they don't close it on time, how does that really benefit us? Because if we then cancel, well, who else are we going to go with? We need another higher priced buyer or somebody else out there that wants to buy it, and they haven't even gone through the contingency period themselves. So let's say we cancel on this one, go with buyer number 2. And they do their inspections and say, oh, there's too much work, we cancel too. Then we've wasted even 2 or 3 more weeks and that one hasn't closed either. So usually it's best to work it out, to be patient, to work with buyer number 1 and to get it closed. So what's the solution to this problem? A very simple solution is with a counteroffer, we counter a per diem. And that basically can say, in the event that the buyer delays escrow or the property does not close on the escrow date, any fault of the buyer or the buyer's loan, then will be a per diem charge. There's different ways of writing that, but basically it puts the burden of duty on to the buyer. So if it's delayed, then it starts accruing a per diem charge that helps to pacify the seller. Now, I'd say 50% of the time we do that, 50% of the time we don't. We just had one that was delayed and I did not recommend that on that particular one. And there's specific reasons that have to do with pros and cons and risk, and I can't explain that on this video. That's something that I advise our clients based on their situation. It's all negotiation. But 50% of the time we will recommend that, and it's a good way to just protect yourself from that property becoming delayed. So hopefully as a seller, this helps answer your questions about what do we do when the property doesn't sell. Make it a great day, and we'll see you on the next video.